please turn it off or set it to stun. Rob was an age where he would know Star Trek. So, Baruch Dayan HaEmet, we praise the Judge of Truth. It's lovely weather, perfect weather for a funeral, for a friend. It's crummy, horrible, terrible weather, which is in so many ways the way people feel. And so we begin with Psalm 121. Esai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yiten lamot radlecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum velo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha al yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yakeka v'yarech balayla. Adonai yishmarcha mikol ra, yishmoret nafshecha. Adonai yishmar tzedcha uvoecha me'ata va'ad olam. I lift my eyes to the mountains, from whence cometh my help. My help comes from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. The Lord is your guardian, he is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. Death has taken your beloved Robert Levine, or as he said, Rob, R-O-B. Friends grieve in their darkened world. In their silence there is lamentation. In their tears there is loneliness. Lost in their sorrow may they find the presence of loving friends. Hear them, O God, and be with them. For Rob's love that united many people in life and which death cannot sever. For his companionship that was shared along life's path and which continues through the tenderness of memory. For the gifts of his heart and mind that brought joy and happiness and is now a precious remembrance. For all of these and more, we give our thanks to Almighty God. It is a time of grief. We listen to the voice of our sacred scriptures once again from Sefer Tehillim, from the book of Psalms. It brings us the ever-new message of God's nearness. It tells us of our kinship with the Creator. In light as in darkness, in joy as in sorrow, in life as in death. Together in the English, let us recite the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. We will hear words of tribute, delivering a eulogy for Rob from his dear friend Steve first, and then his son Todd.
Okay, thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, kids, for letting me speak on behalf of my dear friend. I had the great privilege and pleasure to witness many of the ages of Rob Levine. I got to see him as an early young man in high school, but didn't really appreciate what shaped his life until really the last few weeks of his life. We all know Rob The Eggman, as the best guy you wanted to hang out with or get in your foursome on the golf course, his wit was unparalleled. His ability to walk into a room and befriend everybody with a quip or a joke or that smile. There was also the Rob that was very stubborn and very protective and very guarded. But we all know that Rob was a man that you wanted to be your friend, and he was a great friend to many of us. Many of you in this room opened your homes to Rob during his life. To really understand the Rob that I got to appreciate in the last few months, it all begins with the events of his loss of his mother when he was 12 years old. While they were living in Cleveland Heights, she contracted cancer, and he loved his mother, and she loved him. And as her illness progressed, she wanted to have one last trip with the family, a happy time. He might remember her. I know this because just a few weeks ago when I was in his bedroom in Fort Myers, as we were getting ready to do one of our many road trips, I'd have chance on business to say, come with me. The hotel's paid for, the rental car's paid for. You can come with me. We'll have a road trip. He brought me into the bedroom and he showed me this picture on the wall facing his bed, and it was a beautiful pastel pencil-driven portrait of himself when he was 10 years old. Sandy-colored hair, ruby red cheeks, smiling. And he told me, this is the last time I have memories of my mother. And it was in front of the Fontainebleau Hotel. There was an art fair, and my mother made me sit still while they drew the portrait of her 10-year-old son. And he had that framed, and he had that in his bedroom, and that was one of his cherished possessions. He says, as we're driving across to Miami, I'll tell you more. Rob, unfortunately, lost his mother, and then as we were graduating high school and going to Ohio State, his father became ill. And as a young man, when we were all returning from college, ready to start our families and start our careers, Rob became an orphan. Those were some very tough times for him. We were in our early 20s. Those friends who knew him then knew that he was looking for answers. He became a very defensive, confused young man. And he had a very rough year or two. And many of us opened our homes and helped this young man help get to a better place. But I'm proud to say he did get to a better place. And he was called to tackle the skills that he had as a talented salesperson. Several of you in this room he worked for. For many years he was a good sales rep for whether Ohio Farmers or Hillcrest. And then eventually he had a guarded, he had a protection. Rob never felt like he was really part of anything until he actually met Leslie Levine and created a wonderful family. I wanted to just be here today to say 2 or 3 things to his children and to Rob. Rob was looking for acceptance. He wanted to belong. He was an orphan looking for someone to bring him in. And whether it was sitting in his Ohio State golf cart or putting on his Eggman plate wherever he went, he was a proud father, parent, and partner to his Leslie Levine and then Leslie Cropole, who we met several years ago and has been a wonderful way that Rob ended his last few years with the love and care of an amazing lady who's here. I want to say to Rob something you never heard from your mom. We're all very proud of you. You raised a fabulous family. All 3 of your kids are amazing, wonderfully accomplished, beyond your expectations. He did what our parents are charged to do, make life better for your children, put them through college, give them the opportunities of career. Tracy now with her husband Josh, you did it. Very proud of you. Your parents love you. They're proud of you as well. I talked to him the day he passes. I was heading down to Florida. He was feeling better that day. Many of you know he was diagnosed with cancer on his tonsils. Aggressive. I was down there with my wife Lori a few months ago, and it all started when he said, "Boy, when I swallow, it's painful." This was before the diagnosis. And then he got the diagnosis, and he was optimistic. The doctor says we can beat this. And he had radiation every day, chemo 3 times a week. And actually, the day he passed, he told me he was feeling better. I think the tumor's shrinking. And he was looking forward to getting together and talking about how great his kids were, how Marla was in Australia as a professional traveling the world, Tracy consulting to some of the leading companies on the planet, and the pride he had from Todd, the engineer from Ohio State, who exceeded many of our expectations when he was younger. We never thought he would be the most accomplished student in the family, but he is. We're very proud. Rob, you're back with your mother. You told me the last 2-3 times we were together of the thoughts you now had about your mother, and this was before the tragic events of Saturday. We all love you. We're all proud of you, and you should be proud of your accomplishments. Children, thank you for letting me speak.
I think there's a silver lining to the weather we have today, and that is that no one had to cancel their tea time, which my father would not have wanted on his behalf. It's amazing as you grow up and develop and you realize these traits in yourself and where they came from your parents, from your mom and your dad, and then there's this place that's left over for you to make your own. And much like my father, I'm not one for public speeches and addresses, and I don't ever recall my dad giving a formal talk, maybe at my bar mitzvah where he was obligated to, and those words were mostly written by my mother, I imagine. But even though my dad didn't stand up in this formal setting and present himself, it didn't stop him from captivating a room and being warm and inviting to everyone and just developing relationships with strangers, the waitress, the busboy, the person holding the door, his close friends. And it was almost like that giving a talk, there was too much formality to get in the way of having a good time, and that's what my dad was always about. He was big into nicknames. Rob the Hob. His friends know him as Robbie. Almost everyone knows him as the Eggman. In business, my dad was the best salesman I knew. He could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. As my father, he taught me so many valued skills and life lessons. He taught me to drive stick shift, which I do every single day. Some skills I haven't learned how to utilize yet, like falling asleep in the recliner to golf on television. Some skills are invaluable, like how to agitate my mother in just the right way. Probably his biggest life lesson was pay in cash and ask for a discount. I worked 2 summers alongside my father on the back of his delivery truck, waking up at 4 a.m. in the morning, and I knew he took pride in the fact that he didn't have to wake me up. I would wake up on my own. And I learned so much more working closely with him, and I understand that he could have been difficult to work with as well. He shared with me the business, but he always wanted better for us. He constantly told me, the business is here, but I don't want you to be an egg schlepper. And in the end, I know my dad was proud of all of his children, myself and my sisters, and he told me that regularly over the phone. And he's happy that we found our own way, and it was definitely on the back of his hard work, paying for our education, spending time to do work and not take vacations and things like that. It's easy to feel sorry for my father for not living out more of the retirement that he was so enjoying, golfing every day, Florida weather. And it's easy to be sad for ourselves that we don't get to spend more time with my father. But I really feel sad and sorry for the people that he never had a chance to meet and to make smile and laugh. Thank you.
To those words of tribute spoken as a prayer, let us say amen. Rob's Hebrew name was Tzvi, which means deer. Don't know if he was agile and nimble, but certainly people would leap to his quips and his jokes in a joyful way. As the family members sat and some friends sat and talked about him yesterday afternoon, I was reminded of a teaching in the Talmud. It's in Tractate Ta'anit. And it tells of a saintly rabbi who constantly pondered the great mysteries of life beyond the grave. And one day, as this rabbi was walking through the town market, they would sell food in this town market, and he was engrossed in his ponderings, he came into direct spiritual communication with Eliyahu Hanavi, with Elijah the prophet, the same Elijah at the Passover Seder, the same Elijah who was invited to every bris, the same Elijah that is the forerunner of the Messianic time. And this rabbi asked Elijah, will any of these people in the marketplace share the bliss of the world to come when they and I have died? And Elijah pointed to two people who were entertaining, it says, entertaining with their playfulness on the far side of the market square. And the rabbi looks over and he says, what? These simple performers are going to be my companions in Olam Haba, in the world to come? What merits do they possess? And Elijah answered, they have joyful, fun-loving spirits that brighten up the hearts of others. And in so many ways, that with Rob, in so many ways. He was born here in Cleveland on April 21st, 1952. He's survived by his older sister, Linda. She is ill, not able to be here. His parents, Jack and Mildred, both of blessed memory. Life is not easy for anyone. Just think about it for a moment. How easy is it for you? When a person sees someone who's smiling and is friendly, sometimes the person thinks, well, that guy has a lot easier life than I do. That's why he seems so happy. If I had it as well as he did, I'd smile a lot too. But of course, the truth is something quite different. The truth is, a person who behaves happily is making a choice to do so. He says to himself, life is difficult, but I don't want to have a crumb to punum to everyone. I don't want to have, a sourpuss face to everyone. I mean, who wants to be around a sourpuss? Rob put a smile on his face, and as you know, his mother died just before his bar mitzvah. And then his graduated Heights High School in 1970, and then his father died when he was a sophomore at Ohio State. He had to leave college and go to work. He was blessed with a family. Rob and Leslie shared a marriage of 26 years, blessed with Marla, Todd, and Tracy. Todd's about 5 minutes older than Tracy. It's good to have twins so that the older can lord that 5 minutes over the younger. Tracy's husband, Josh. As we know, many from personal experience, divorces are not easy for a family. Seldom are the process and outcome predictable. Some people come into a family unit, some people leave. Some people stay in touch, some people don't stay in touch. People move out of town. The children recalled of their father. You could tell there was always some pain in his life. And boy, did Dad love to cut a deal. Even with the funeral director, we asked the funeral director, how much for cash? And I asked the funeral director. He said, yeah, they did. They asked. If you can get a discount at your own funeral, is that such a bad thing? Now, it seems a little strange when you're talking about a funeral, but it is part of life. And he loved to shop at Costco. His death was relatively sudden, even with the diagnosis of the cancer in December. Still a shock. And this is an opportunity for friends and family to comfort one another. Take the opportunity to be there for one another and to reconcile with one another, especially with the food. He was a strong cultural Jew. You might even say a gastronomic Jew. He loved a good noodlekugel, brisket, corned beef. The list probably goes on and on. He made friends easily. His customers became his friends. Todd, you quoted from the movie Tommy Boy. You could sell a ketchup popsicle to a woman in white gloves. I had to look that up on Google last night. I never heard of the movie, but it's right there, the 4-second snippet. That was a good sales line for him. And also, when he would eat something, Gary said he would say, tastes like chicken. I guess no matter what it was. And as you know, he loved golf, and he taught himself to golf. And Les said, he used to have a handicap in the single digits. For those of us who don't golf all that much, I guess that's good, very good. Les said he had more golf clothing and more golf shoes than I do. He had a big smile on his face. We saw many pictures yesterday with a smile. And he loved golf, and so quite appropriately, Marla was born on the same day Jack Nicklaus won the Masters in 1986. That's an appropriate birth. And his golf cart in Florida has the Ohio State. It's decorated for Ohio State. Gary said, memories of Rob all of my memories are fun. We used to have a lot of fun together. Among the many other things that were said of Rob, he was a man for whom loyalty was important. If you were a friend of his, he would be loyal to you. And he expected, and you could expect that he would be loyal in return. Gary and Terry bought a condo in December in the same development, figuring that they would move down there and spend a good deal of time with him. But such was not to be. He's only been in cancer treatment for a few weeks, and so this is a shock. He breathed his last Motzei Shabbat. He breathed his last Saturday evening as Shabbat was departing. So did Rob's soul depart his body to return to God and to be with the souls of his dear relatives, to commune with the soul of his dear mother, other friends and ancestors. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was, and the spirit returns to God who gave it. One day, we all go to this time called Olam Haba, the world to come. It's not a place, it's a time. It's an entirely spiritual existence, is what Judaism believes. And so you'll be together with the soul of your dear father, your dear loved one, your dear relative, all in good time. No one's not to be rushed into. The family has allowed us to send along an old, well-prayed-from prayer book with him, because not only is it a mitzvah to escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place, but also holy books of our tradition. And so you have many, many memories of Rob. We give thanks to God for this gift of life. We would have hoped for more time, many more years, however, only in good health. And so as you think of him, there are so many stories of him that you should recall, behaviors that you should emulate. Probably some behaviors you shouldn't emulate, but let's concentrate on the behaviors you should emulate. There's some food, conversations that you haven't had with one another for many years, now is a good time to consider having those conversations, because in his loving memory, he has brought you together again. And so we say, with tears in our eyes, words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Amen. Ose shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru yimru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, Ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of Tzvi, of Robert Levine. And let us say Amen. Please rise for El Malei Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of Rob Levine, for you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us so we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Im Kedoshim Utohorim, Kezohar Mazhirim, Et Nishmat Tzvi Ben Yaakov, Shahalach Lo'olamo, Baal Harachamim, Yastirehu B'Seit Kanafav Le'olamim, Vayitzro B'Tzor HaChaim, Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachanato, V'tanuach B'Shalom Al Mishkavo, V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to Tzvi, to Rob Levine. He has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Please be seated. The funeral directors will come in a moment to give us directions as we do the processional to Beit Olam Cemetery. If you are not going to the cemetery and going to the house, we'll be at the house about an hour and a half from now. We're going to be at 1867 Eden Hall Drive in Lyndhurst. Family will be there until 8 o'clock tonight, and tomorrow starting at 2 in the afternoon, and then, throughout the day. Friday from 2 o'clock to 5. Family is asking that if you care to make a donation to Tzedakah in his loving memory, the Jeremy and Hallie Stein Memorial Fund, or other places, but that would be the first place. And we will now go in procession to the cemetery.